I suppose in relation to the first question, which would be, what is immune therapy? Essentially, immune therapy is any therapeutic application that utilises the immune system to clinical benefit. And there are a huge number of different forms of immune therapy that we currently use and which are in current development. I mean, perhaps the simplest one that most people will recognise is any sort of vaccines. If we have a vaccine against polio or bacteria such as tetanus, for example, we know that we are somehow inducing the immune system to recognise those diseases, so that if we ever come into contact with those sorts of diseases, we end up being able to effectively protect ourselves from those diseases so we don't actually get them. So vaccines are probably the most well-known form of immune therapy that we use, and they're normally given prophylactically. That is, they're given prior to any onset of the disease or contact with the disease, so that you're protected from that disease if you come into contact with it. You can look at other vaccines that have been developed or are being developed. In fact, will probably hit the UK very, very quickly, perhaps within the next 6 months to a year. And that's vaccines against certain cancers. There's a vaccine that's going to be coming up fairly soon that will protect all females from cervical cancer. And this is a fabulous form of vaccine where adolescent girls will be given this vaccine in the recognition that certain viruses can lead in the long term, if they become infected with, can lead to the formation of cancer, cervical cancer. And by giving this vaccine against these particular viruses, you can therefore protect against those individuals getting cancer in the long term. Now, if you look at other sorts of vaccines that are in development, we also have other types of cancer vaccines. They're called tumour vaccines. And they're given, rather than being given prophylactically, they're given therapeutically. So a therapeutic vaccine is essentially, if somebody already has the disease, then you try and vaccinate them to boost their immune system to attack that disease. And at the moment there are a number of different tumour vaccines that are in development that may, at some time in the future, add significant benefit to a number of different sorts of cancers, or to hit certain cancers. So in addition to the sort of vaccination story then for immune therapy, you've also got the development of new types of biological drugs, which are essentially parts of the immune system that are then used to attack certain serious diseases, such as cancers and lymphomas. And I suppose a couple of examples of that might be, if we look at some individuals who suffer from breast cancer, there are drugs that are on the market which are basically antibodies, part of the immune system, that are given to those patients suffering from certain forms of breast cancer. And in recognition that those antibodies bind to the cancer cells and slow their growth, basically inhibit their growth, so that a person can have a much longer lifespan. There are other forms of antibodies that are produced as drugs, in other words part of the immune system, which attack lymphomas, in particular non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, and they're given to patients with standard good quality therapeutic benefit, and it slows the progression of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma so that an individual can live a longer and better life. In addition then to the vaccine boosting of the immune system, and also the development of drugs which actually use bits of the immune system to fight cancers and lymphomas and leukemias, there's also the development of cell-based immune therapies. So cell-based immune therapies are known as adoptive immunotherapies. Some examples of those in particular are the treatment of melanoma, whereby patients who have late-stage melanoma have had their samples of their immune cells taken from them, a blood sample taken from them, and that those immune cells have then been put together with adjuvants that make them recognise melanoma, these terrible skin cancers that some people get. And if you have a look at the studies that have been done with this form of adoptive immunotherapy, there's very, very encouraging and good quality results, where some individuals who are late on in the onset of disease, with lots and lots of metastases all over their bodies, have actually rejected completely those tumours. So immune therapies, there are many, many different types. It's a brave new world, if you like, in medicine, where immunotherapy is coming now of age. And in fact, if you look at some of the main websites in the world, if you look at the American Cancer Society website, for example, which is the biggest charitable organisation in the world, if you go to their website and you type in immunotherapy, a page will come up and it'll say that immunotherapy is now considered the fourth way or fourth modality for cancer treatment. So in other words, we have chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgical therapy, and now immunotherapy. And also that probably most of the new treatments for cancer, and specific treatments for cancer, will come from immunotherapeutic approaches towards cancer. So it's something that really is particularly important, and is, we currently do have treatments that involve boosting the immune system by vaccination, by providing biological drugs, and in early and probably later stage clinical trials now, we have adopted forms of immunotherapy where we train our immune systems to recognise sorts of diseases like cancers. So, very, very important.